I saw this building online and I thought that should be doable. It wasn't. So instead of giving up, I contacted the person who made it. And that led to a really nice surprise. Welcome back to Tiny Brick City. Last time I added a building designed by Thomas. A building created specifically for this city. By someone who got inspired by these videos. I'm honestly still a little amazed by that. And it fits perfectly between the bakery and the merchant house. Today I'm adding another building from someone who subscribed to the channel. But this story starts somewhere completely different. Let's go back to the beginning. As I've mentioned before, I spend a lot of time browsing the internet, looking for microscale buildings, and my wish list is much bigger than my wallet. But this building has been close to the top of that list for a very long time. I don't even remember where I first saw it. Maybe it was on Facebook, maybe on Flickr, maybe on Pinterest. At this point, I've looked at so many Lego designs, they all start to blur together. But this one was special. The amount of colors used, the proportions, the way the parts are used. It doesn't really look like Lego anymore. It just feels like a real building. I immediately wanted it in Tiny Brick City. It was the very first building without instructions I added to my list. The first thing I tried was rebuilding it in Studio. That didn't work. This building was the reason I almost stopped reverse engineering buildings completely. I seriously considered only adding models where I could find or buy instructions. It was frustrating. No matter what I tried, I couldn't make it work. Getting some details to work only made me discover it didn't connect to the rest of the building anymore. And because I couldn't find any other photos online, the whole building remained a mystery. Eventually, I gave up. Fortunately, I didn't give up rebuilding buildings altogether. Over the last few months, I've recreated several other designs. And every single time taught me something new. So, after gaining a bit more experience, I tried this one again. This time, I got a little bit further, but I still couldn't make a finished design. At that point, I realized I was trying to solve it the wrong way. Instead of spending another evening guessing how someone else built it, I could simply ask. After some searching, I managed to find the designer's details. The building was designed by Jonas Bricks. I sent him a message asking if he perhaps still had a few extra images, or maybe some details that would help me understand the build. Honestly, I wasn't expecting much. The original picture was uploaded almost 9 years ago. Maybe he'd forgotten the model even existed. A few days later, I got a reply. Not with extra pictures, not with a few hints. Jonas rebuilt the entire thing in Studio. I didn't expect that at all. He didn't have this ready, but recreated this just because I asked. Suddenly, my impossible puzzle was solved. Instead of trying to reverse engineer myself, I could just start building. And while we were talking, Jonas also shared the story behind the design, where the name came from. It's called the Earling Hotel, named after this Lego piece. I always knew this piece as the headlight brick, but it has another name, after its designer, Earling Diderichsen. Jonas used 31 of them in this micro design. That means 1 out of 10 bricks used is an Earling brick. He also shared the origin of the design. It was part of a competition. The challenge was creating a building on an 8x8 footprint. First prize, every official modular building. That sounds like the perfect inspiration for my channel. I tried finding more information about it. The winners, other entries, anything. I spent a lot of time searching, but somehow almost everything has disappeared, which is a shame. Now, halfway the build, I might know why it didn't win, and why I couldn't figure out how it was connected. Some of these sections are connected in surprisingly creative ways. 2 parts barely connected, just a bar. Some bricks aren't even connected to the main building. And on the roof there's a tile held in place by these little wheels. Looking at the images, I always assumed clever hidden techniques. Turns out there wasn't always one. The building is actually far more delicate than it looks. I'm really glad Jonas provided the studio file. I don't think I would ever have figured it out myself. But that's also what makes this build so interesting. I can discover how other designers think. Not every solution has to be perfect. Sometimes the goal isn't building it perfectly. It's creating the illusion. And if the illusion works, that's enough. And I think for this design, it's worth it. I like the asymmetry of the design. It's really well thought of. It looks different from every side. And all the sides have some original details. The awnings, the entrance, the back door, the ornaments on the roof. I also like the use of colors. Jonas used so many of them and it's all balanced very well. It doesn't feel like a Lego model. It feels like somewhere people actually live. You can almost imagine someone opening the windows, having a coffee, and that's probably the best compliment I can give a microscale building. It feels like a place. As we're building higher, the connections get even trickier. Some of these bricks are even not connected at all, but I think it's worth the effort. Somehow it all stayed together. Here's the finished result. And honestly, it was worth waiting for. It sat on my wish list since the beginning, not because I couldn't buy it, but because I couldn't build it. That makes finally placing it feel more satisfying. Just like Thomas' building, it's a little smaller. So I think it belongs in the older part of the city. Close to the bakery, the bar, the church. It has a slightly more modern look. But tucked around the corner, that little contrast actually makes the neighborhood feel more real. I think it's a great addition to the city. But what I like the most, when I first contacted Jonas, he asked me what channel it was for. So I shared the details. His reply was really surprising. He was already subscribed and had seen some of my videos. That honestly made my day. A few months ago, I was just looking for interesting buildings to add to my little town. Trying to rebuild something from a picture. Now I'm talking to the designers, learning the background stories behind their creation. And somehow people who inspired me are now watching me build this city. Next video, it's time to let even more of your ideas become part of the city. See you then in Tiny Brick City.